come once again to discuss things.
And with that, thank you, Japan. But hello, everybody. We are the Geeky Gentlemen. I am Beware the Steve Baxi. I have got Sid Part 2 Ian with me.
Hello.
And Mulan Jeptik, or the Russian comic book geek, or whatever you like to be called. I'm not actually sure.
I want you to call me Daddy.
No.
Well, that's the first time that ever happened. Usually people just agree.
That's actually more surprising than your question. But, yeah. But anyway, we are here talking about another awesome topic.
Because usually I have like a knife and they have no choice, but since you're like thousands of miles away, my sexy intimidation tactics won't work on you, and that makes me kind of sad. But go on.
With that picture in my mind, we are going to be sitting here today talking about social commentary. About basically how media or art or just about anyone can talk about society and analyze what's going on, bring up issues, and whether or not it ever intrudes on art, whether we should be doing it, and just altogether what the purpose of it really is.
Cool.
Right.
Fun.
Yep.
I'm excited. It's like the one thing that we're always bringing up, but I never really would have thought to have a topic on it.
Well, yeah, see, because everyone's always like making very comprehensive reviews and always talking about the bigger implications of things, but we never like sit down and address how far social commentary should be going.
Definitely. Everyone's like, hey, should comic books really be one of those, politically, socially conscious things that, a platform for people to, speak about ideas in large, broad strokes of the superhero? Some people like Linkara saying, no, I want kitty action and punching in the face and lighthearted banter. How dare you bring thought and intelligence into my comics? And darkness, where? And I'm like...
See, that, I think you're being unfair, but... to be fair, I haven't watched any Linkara stuff, but I agree, it's crazy. Like, comic books, when they didn't do any social commentary, were fun, but they're like a Michael Bay movie, at best. Like, I think a comic book without any kind of social commentary is just like a good Michael Bay movie.
But with men
I'm not sure
in
that's
tights
completely
fighting each
fair.
other. Yeah, I think that Michael Bay, like... it's well known that Michael Bay hates humanity in all ways completely, but I think it's more to say it's not a John Woo film, but it's a superhero movie on paper with colors and hey, we're gonna have fun. It's kind of
it's an early 2000s superhero movie. Okay.
No, it's essentially the Justice Friends. I mean, the Justice, Friends, Super Friends. That's it. It's like, hey, or like the recent, DC animated film that came out. The Adventures of the Justice League. It's just a fun romp through a universe where shit happens.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you have to balance what you're doing.
And personally, I don't find that stuff very interesting. Me, I like ideas. Ideas are what attracts me to anything. You can have the most basic story ever, but if the ideas that are being communicated in your thing are fascinating to me, then I'm there. As long as what you're talking about is interesting, it doesn't matter what's going on screen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in a way, at least with older comics, there is still a bunch of ideas going on, even if it's not there purposely, just because of all the history and the situation.
Yeah. Most of older comics, people say Alan Moore or Frank Miller brought topical subject matter to comic books, and that's at that point their head becomes.
Can you just not strawman someone with your voice, please?
I did not strawman anybody. I know plenty of delightful individuals with such a voice. But, how dare you, stereotype people by just a voice that I'm putting on. Shame on you, Ian. But
Shame on me.
Shame on you. Shame on you. I'm just giving you the finger of shame. But anyway, there were comic books back, like, even as far as the 50s. I mean, fucking Superman is essentially a giant liberal, socialist slam down on capitalism. It's like,
and Batman was that way a little bit too earlier on.
Well, no, actually, Batman as well. Batman, like the early comics, was just him.
But I have got to butt in because I just watched the most amazing series. It's a short series documentary, 3 episodes that PBS did, and they got all the greats to come in, and it's like a history of comic books, right?
Right.
But dude, highlight was when they had Adam West. At first, I thought this was the highlight. When they had Adam West read the original lines from Detective when they gave Bruce Wayne, the Bruce Wayne origin for the first time. I thought that was like the greatest thing ever.
Oh,
but
that is
really,
cool.
the greatest thing ever is Adam West reading lines from The Dark Knight Returns.
Well, I guess you haven't watched smart Babylon Theater yet. It's Ralph Garman just. I know Ralph Garman, he's a voice impersonator, and they sometimes have Adam West on there as well. And essentially, they just read comic books, like sometimes mostly by Kevin Smith, but you also have like a.
No, dude, it's Adam West reading Dark Knight Returns. Fuck you.
There isn't a lot that tops that, honestly.
Yeah. I suppose
it's so crazy. Like, could you imagine if we could actually get Adam West to play Batman in Dark Knight Returns now?
Well, essentially, that's what he was. I mean, like, that's what Frank Miller was playing on. It's like, hey, you see this guy? That's just old Adam West, but he's beefy. That's kind of the whole.
That is not old Adam West at all.
Well, that's what people thought of Adam West. Like before, this is the graphic novel came out way before like the movie. The movie actually inspired, the graphic novel inspired the movie. But yeah, in the popular culture, the dark Batman that the main public knew. Sure, you had the Danny O'Neill shit, but like for the majority of people, Adam West was Batman. And then to see this, this graphic novel, quote unquote, come out and say, hey, this is fucking Batman. Oh, it must be Adam West. Oh, did he just fucking break a guy's leg? Shit.
And I guess to round that topic back over, the reason the Adam West show just didn't last past a few seasons is because it was a kind of a generic format that just kept going and it bored people. And the reason Dark Knight Returns grabbed people so much is because it was actually discussing things of the time, and it was pushing some boundaries as to what kind of political themes we can have in media.
Yeah, definitely.
Like making fun of Ronald Reagan, talking about Cold War and nuclear bombs, and just America as a superpower and what that means.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, it's one of the best books for the time. I don't want to say it's lost its edge over the years, but I think it's not as impactful nowadays. If you've read other comics since Dark Knight Returns, it doesn't have as much impact as it would have if it was like, if you'd been reading comics for years and then you read Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, because like nowadays it's like, hey, thermonuclear annihilation? I'm not afraid of that. Because,
Well, I mean, we gotta give credit where it's due with Dark Knight Returns.
Thermonuclear annihilation to some extent.
Ian's like, we must fear, We gotta at least cure the tiny nugget of fear in our hearts, just out of nostalgia.
But I guess, Ian, to your point about Dark Knight Returns, we still have to understand that we wouldn't have modern comics, or at least we wouldn't have a great majority of modern comics without that. Mm-hmm. So there's still a little bit of historical perspective we have to see that through. Because that's like saying Watchmen's lost its edge over time, and it really hasn't.
Not at all.
No, Watchmen hasn't, but I think Dark Knight Returns, it's not as impactful. Because that's actually Bill's problem with it, and I kind of wish you were on to talk about this, because I'm kind of making his argument here. It's just not that big a deal, and I think part of that is the way it's been sold to everyone. Everybody talks about Dark Knight Returns. But honestly,
why it doesn't
think
work?
About it from,
you know why it doesn't work? Because
Alan Moore, shut up. Alan Moore, shut up. Like, I'm making Bill's argument here, I guess, but, like, as he's a younger guy, and the first time he read Dark Knight Returns was after he'd read Grant Morrison's Batman run. So it's just, it totally doesn't have as big of an effect if you've read a lot of comics that have come out since it, even if those comics have very little to do with it tone-wise. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
But
fair,
once again,
but I mean, that's still just putting, like, your personal experience into it and not counting it as just a story on its own merits, because on that level, it still is a really good story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely
Definitely.
agree.
The thing with The Dark Knight Returns, it's almost like people say, "Oh, anything old and has written at that point in time loses its edge," and I'm like, not really. If you want to know how things were like back then, at least culturally speaking, in the zeitgeist, just read Dark Knight Returns. That kind of whole fear of like, yes, the world is reaching an apocalypse, nuclear winter, everything's going to go down the toilet real quick. Fucking Ronald Reagan is fucking batshit insane, and it just fucking, his brain is turned to mush. You know, that state of mind is really well captured in that comic. And it's almost like, yes, as I read that book, I'm back in the 80s, and I'm like, I was never alive in the 80s, and that's when I start, you know, thinking this is Lovecraftian magic.
Okay.
The Dark Knight Returns is a tome of Lovecraftian magic because it sends your mind and spirit back to the 80s. Well, not the real...
I think this is the reason why Milan will never be quoted on the back of a book.
Or the reason why I will be quoted in the back of a book. It's like, listen to what this fucking rambling mental patient said about my book. It's fucking awesome. But anyway.
It has nothing to do with the book.
Not at all. Like, sometimes I just like to stick my penis in a toaster. Why? Because... Why? Because Buddha told me so. I don't know. That motherfucker crazy. Anyway, I want to get back to my original point. Like, comic books, like, always were, like, they always had that, you know, not in all titles, but in some of the, you know, main titles, they had an intrinsic cultural awareness. Maybe it wasn't as subtle as it is nowadays, because, you know, back in the 60s, like, oh, is poisoning our environment a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, is feminism, like they portrayed feminism as like, you know, oh, like you read some of those books, it's like ridiculous. It's like there's one story from Marvel. They like it's essentially it's ham-fisted trying to be aware of stuff, and it's just essentially this girl group. It's like Valkyrie and whatever, and they beat up the Avengers, but it turns out, you know, they're led by a man. Like, they're all mind-controlled, and they essentially, at the end of the book, make all the men sandwiches, and like, yes, we should not strain our feminine muscles on fighting crime. Let's make sandwiches.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know, like...
I'm going to cut you off. Steve, I heard you trying to butt in earlier.
Well, I just got kind of captured by Milan's point a little, but... It's interesting you say that, because Marvel arguably has more social commentary in their earlier days than DC.
Yeah.
Because, you think Captain America, and he's entering the war in Pearl Harbor, and all that happens before it happens in the actual U.S., and you've got stuff like a bunch of war titles, and sure, DC were doing them at the time also, but Marvel's were just a little bit more grounded in with the soldiers. And even the DC characters were a little bit superpowered, so Marvel's always had their ear to the ground. And sure, we can get like books where the feminist stuff you mentioned happens, but it's still kind of culturally important to remember that at this point in time, this is what we thought.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, people give Marvel people give Marvel a little bit too much credit, I think. It's like, oh, Marvel was ahead of the curve. I'm like, and if you read some of those older books, not really. It's like, most of the stuff is like, it's almost like the stuff you hear on fucking Tumblr, not Tumblr, but U-Chan, or, like, the bad version of Tumblr, where neo-Nazis hang out. It's not as bad as that. It's like, hey, we're kind of ignorant. Ha 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 ha. But with, like, DC, you had guys like Sergeant Rock, like, well thought out, extraordinarily well drawn shit, like, genuine, like, anti-war stuff. And, like, it was said during, you know, World War II, but, you know, during the time, you know, Vietnam was happening. It's like, and you had, like, hippie guys, like, before the hippie movement.
Okay, let me get in on this before it gets...
For God's sake, let me make my point before I...
Well, then fucking make your point!
I'm trying to! You keep interrupting me with your noise!
You keep fucking going on for 2 days!
You made me feel sad. Oh.
Let me get in on Steve's point before it gets irrelevant. Milan gives 20 examples before he makes his point that he's apparently trying to make with 2 seconds. Gets interrupted. So, like, Steve, you were talking about how a lot of social commentary is contained within the work itself, even if they weren't aware of it. Like, are you saying that that social commentary is there whether or not the authors are intentionally putting it in just because of the time it was written in?
Well, yes and no. Because you're always going to have social influences in your writing. That's just the nature of writing. And the social even if an author doesn't like want to make a point per se about something that's going on in the world, they can still like subconsciously make it because of the way they write their characters. Like,
okay.
Like for example, Superman as the social crusader when he first showed up. Sure, a lot of that was intentional, but some of the things about like being anti-business and the state of journalism and stuff like that, that wasn't exactly all thought out. It just kind of seeps in because of the psychology of the guy's writing.
Yeah, definitely. And
okay, see, I'd actually kind of disagree. I'd say social commentary, in order to, I guess, qualify as social commentary, has to be intentionally done on the part of the author. And if it seeps in the way you were just discussing, I'd call that more historical context, I suppose.
That's fair. It might also be like where you draw the line of what the author meant to convey and what the author's actually conveying.
Depth of the author and everything, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't like to rely on what the author is intending to do as much as I like to figure out what's in there regardless of the author's point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, depth of the author. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's certainly a really hard line to draw. Sometimes it's incredibly obvious, though, and other times it's like just shockingly apparent that this person didn't know what they were writing. Like, I'm taking a history class right now, history of the 20th century.
Oh, cool.
And Rudyard Kipling wrote a paper called The White Man's Burden, and he's totally sincere in his, like, blatant moral justifications for imperialism, that it's a good thing and it's helping the rest of the world and everything. It's the white man's job to do it. And he doesn't, like, see how stupid that sounds.
But Ian, look, like, the white man has a lot of shit to deal with. I mean, running the world is difficult. I mean, why do you think so many men have, like, you know, salt and pepper in their hair? Like, you don't see black folk, you know, getting salt and pepper. You know, white man has to do that, you know? We take the world on our shoulders and we raise it above for everyone. And just because we have to stand on well, not me, I'm fucking Eastern European, but you Americans...
Oh, shut the fuck up. Russians are just as racist as everyone else.
Oh, definitely. More so. I agree. But, like, you know, they're horrible, awful, untrustworthy individuals. They're trustworthy.
Okay, anyway, back to what I was saying.
Russians are trustworthy, but that's what makes them terrifying.
I don't care. I really don't care.
You used to care about my Russian facts. You changed.
When we're doing videos about Russia, sure. No, but, like, I think, to the point I was making about Kipling, though, I think there's social commentary in that, sure, but I think that's more of a historical context thing, because he didn't realize that how ignorant what he was saying was, as opposed to a guy that did a response to him that I just wrote an essay on for the midterm, something Morel, I can't remember his first name. Morel wrote a paper called Black Man's Burden, which is making fun of him in a certain extent and pointing out the problems with his logic and stuff. That I would consider social commentary. The other thing I would consider historical context, even though they're only about 3 years apart.
Definitely.
Yeah,
you know
that's totally a fair point, then.
Yeah. But you know what's funny? If you go to some places on like YouTube or Tumblr, or you know, not Tumblr. Tumblr's run by the feminists, but like
Tumblr's run by the feminists.
but like if you go to like if you go to certain parts on the internet, right? You see people who genuinely believe what Roger Kipling believed, like sincerely, and they're angry at the world. Like, white man has burden. It's our duty to rule, and how dare all these women and foreign folk tell us otherwise? And I'm like, you're fascinating. You're like a freak show. Moral mutants are amusing.
Well, remember that a lot of like isolationist countries before they went imperialistic thought that it was their job to be isolationist because they should set an example for how the rest of the world should run.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not completely ludicrous that they'd write papers like The White Man's Burden because
No, White Man's Burden was a justification for imperialism.
Right. But like just the mentality of those people isn't exactly anything new. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I gotcha. No, but so let's get back to the actual social commentary at hand. So there's a movie that just came out, and I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, but it has kind of a reputation in its franchise for a lot of social commentary. We did an episode on the very original film, and I figured it'd be a good idea to talk about the movie that preceded this current one. You may have heard of it. It's called...
What's it called?
Shit, what's the name? No, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
I thought that's where you were going, but I didn't want to sound stupid by filling in your blank.
No, I was trying to think of a stupid-ass movie that's out right now, but I couldn't, so I just, abandoned the joke.
Transformers?
Shit, why didn't I do that? That would have been so good.
Damn
it, this is why it's like a button.
Dude, I went with a girl, to see Transformers, while high. We shared two joints together. We sat there, we thought, maybe the power of weed could save the Transformers movie. It fucking didn't. It was so boring. Not even us... weed could not save the Transformers franchise. We walked out in the middle of the film. We kind of looked at each other at the same time, you want to leave? Fuck yes. We got up and we left the theater. That was the first fucking time I ever left a movie. Ever. Not even fucking weed could save Michael Bay's Transformers.
Okay, anyway, which gives you so much hope for Ninja Turtles. No, but so Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I rewatched that.
I want to go see the Mutant Ninja Turtles side, because that looks like a fucking trip. Oh.
I don't know, I don't think you can do Dark Knight with the Ninja Turtles.
Well, they make fun of Dark Knight in the movie, so it's hilarious.
Anyway, let's get back to Rise. I know you haven't seen it, Milan, but it's definitely worth talking about, because... whereas the first film in the Apes franchise was the social commentary on, the way in which we're treating the world and how we're destined to destroy it if we continue in this way. Rise was, interestingly enough, kind of a weird commentary on animal rights, to a certain extent, I found. And, how our society treats animals and how we have something like this coming.
Yeah, and it also had a lot to
we
do
have
with
a monkey apocalypse coming. Ian.
Huh?
Yeah.
I fucking knew it. You those motherfuckers. They told me otherwise.
Anyway. Steve, continue.
Well, anyway, I was just saying that more so than animal rights, it was really kind of about how animalistic nature just reflects all the problems with humanity.
Mm-hmm. That too.
So, yeah, the animal rights commentary is definitely there. It's just, I think that's all there to kind of foil what's wrong with people, and that's a theme they explore more in the sequel.
See, like I said, I haven't seen it yet, and I'm really excited to. Rewatching Rise, it's not... the problem is it tries to be an action movie, because here's the thing. You hear the title, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and this was before I saw it, and I'm like, that sounds... like the dumbest fucking movie of all time. It sounded terrible on premise alone, and then you watch it and you're so fucking shocked that it's actually good.
In a world
and then you watch
where
it again,
monkeys fight helicopters.
And then you watch it again, and it's like, alright, so the action bits are as silly as I thought I'd be, but watching it the first time, you don't care. Because you get so wrapped up in the story, I think.
Yeah, it's a compelling story, to say the least.
Silly, dude. It has a gorilla fighting a helicopter. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
A helicopter. It throws itself at a helicopter. There's a difference.
No, it has fist. Yeah, it literally does fisticuffs with the fucking helicopter. It turns into a transformer.
The helicopter turns into a robot.
Exactly. Yeah. But,
just to mention your point on the title really quick, I mean, it doesn't sound any goofier than Battle for, or Conquest, or Escape, or Beneath.
Yeah, I agree, but I haven't seen any of those because I've heard that they're all awful.
Yeah, kind of. I don't want to say they're awful, but I like them, but they are kind of awful.
Don't you just hate that, Maxie, when you when you like something and you have to tell it, describe it to somebody else, and that person says it's awful, and you, like, a part of you wants to fight that, say no, it's not awful, but like the truth of the fact is just so overwhelming. You're like, no, it's not. Oh, okay, yes, it's awful. Don't you just hate?
Yeah, you're right, because they are pretty awful, but I still like them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'll eventually watch them at some point, but I've never heard anyone say, like, it's like, a couple weeks ago, I'm talking to Milan, and Milan's trying to convince me why alcohol is good, and, like, he just starts making these really awful arguments, and that seems like, here's why you drink, because when you're sad about things, and it's just like, nothing he was saying was working, and I feel like that's the arguments that I get for why I should watch the Planet of the Apes sequels.
When you feel really bad, when you feel bad, just watch the Planet of the Apes sequels. Your bitter tears will turn into sugar plums as they leave your eyes.
The good thing about them is that they know they're campy and they know they're bad, so it's not as terrible as a watch.
Yeah, okay. I don't know, I almost want to rewatch the Tim Burton movie just to see if it's actually a parody.
I wouldn't recommend that. That movie is garbage. But
really?
But dude, it has Abraham Lincoln.
Huh?
Abraham Lincoln is in it, Steve. How could it be awful?
Oh, what? Abraham Lincoln is in a Batman movie? What?
Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, Abraham. I thought you... Okay, then that's cool.
In the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie, which, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Batman. That's cool. Oh, yeah.
You're a fucking idiot, dude. You're fucking... Like, did your mom kick you in the head?
Several times, yes. And then she spat on my bleeding body as I cried at her feet.
Okay. Alright, so no, back to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. No, like I said, it's shocking how good that movie is. And the ending credits are some of the best things because I remember watching it and I was like, oh man, so this was really interesting and really compelling, but it totally doesn't explain how the fuck they take over the world. And then the ending credits scene happens, you're like, oh shit. Awesome. Because then it becomes like this weird commentary on the AIDS virus, kinda, or at least the myth around the AIDS virus.
Oh.
I'm not sure how much fact is involved with that.
Did somebody bone a monkey?
No, like there's this like rumor, urban legend thing, and I'm not sure how true it is. It might actually have been confirmed at some point. That the AIDS virus was spread by or the AIDS virus first got like a really good start because it was spread by a bisexual flight attendant. So he was traveling all around the world. That it's one of those things where it's iffy, but it sounds plausible enough.
So like a flight attendant fucked a monkey? What?
No, it actually, here's the real history that we have confirmed. King Leopold II, Polish king, owned a lot of territory in the Congo, basically reinstated slavery, even though all European countries had banned it, and it was like chopping off hands and penises of the natives that wouldn't collect rubber trees. So it created this really awful environment, and just no one gave a fuck about sanitation. And since they were in the fucking Congo, which is like the densest jungle in all of Africa, constantly going out and chopping down trees, eventually someone got infected with an ape virus somehow, and then it spread like fire through that area, and then kind of went all over Africa, and no one gave a fuck about it because it's Africa. And then once it reached the Western world, it just happened to start getting a foothold in the homosexual population. The question is, how did it get to the Western world? And a lot of people look at air travel, because there's nothing that's been better for germs than the invention of commercial airlines.
Funny enough, you should say that. Max Brooks. What's his name? Like that guy who wrote, Young Frankenstein.
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks. His son is a rather accomplished author. His name
Yeah,
is
World War Z, right?
World War Z, and basically that's how the zombie virus spreads. The World War Z is essentially the book. It's a really almost terrifyingly realistic look at what a zombie virus would look like on a global scale. And it's like this is the type of zombie movie I want to see. Like the global, the zombies are just zombies, but it's the global politics around the zombie outbreaks that are just fascinating because, it's geeky. So
is the movie any good?
No.
No.
The movie
Because once you read the book, they could have done such an amazing thing. They could have made it like a mockumentary or something, because
that would have been neat.
Because essentially what they do, it's still geeky related, so I can talk about it, because zombies. But essentially, it's after the fact, after the zombie war, when humanity has managed to gain a foothold, and it's this UN sanctioned it's just the kind of guy who collects info, like statistics and whatever, and but he also had, at the end of his UN sanctioned mission, he has all these stories, first-hand accounts of the zombie apocalypse, and he writes a book about it, and he's as accurate as he possibly can, and it's he has all these for example, how some of the theories of how the virus got spread, and air travels, and illegal organ trafficking, are thought to be the main reasons of how the zombie virus got spread. And there's this one really cool story, this one plastic surgeon in Rio or whatever, and they have a frozen heart, or a heart on ice, and they replace it with somebody, like a politician or whatever. And once the heart starts beating again, that heart is infected by the zombie virus. It's taken out of a zombie or an infected person. And this is the early days of the virus, before everyone, before the big scare, before the big outbreak actually happened. And so they put this heart in, and it starts beating, and the guy almost instantaneously started to change as the blood pumps the virus through his stream. So they're sewing him up. They start the heart again, and he starts screaming what the fuck? Why is he eating our nurse?
Interesting.
And it's really cool.
Are you going to make a point, or are you just explaining the book?
I'm just talking about the book. It's rather cool. Check it out.
Okay, well, that's cool.
A globalist view
back
on the zombie apocalypse.
About social commentary.
Well, it is kind of social commentary because it kind of takes the idea of those guys who kind of make false cures and sell it. Whatchamacallit? Those guys who make the shitty hey, take this pill and your AIDS will go away. They kind of do a reference, what would a guy like that be seen as after zombie apocalypse? If you make a wonder drug, claiming to cure the zombie apocalypse, that guy's literally, not literally since it's a fictional universe, but after the fact, the guy had to run away to the Antarctic because everyone wanted to fucking kill him.
Okay, anyway, let's actually take this and connect it to social commentary on a wider stance then. Do you think zombie movies have become the big thing that they are? And I'm not particularly a fan of zombies. I'm just burnt out on zombies and vampires at this point. Do you think they've become the thing they are? Do you think they've become the thing they are because we have such a big fear of uncontrollable diseases nowadays?
Well, yeah.
It's certainly possible, yeah.
Because there's been this huge explosion of vampire and zombie movies that are just all it is just a metaphor for infection, or not even really a metaphor, just a story about infection that cannot be stopped.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's such a big deal, and it's got to be about fucking the spread of some kind of super virus that medicine can't stop.
I mean, I think it's more than just infection though, because it's not zombie movies per se that take off. It's end of the world, post-apocalyptic stuff that's really been taken off.
But that's
and I think that's mostly just because of the whole 2012 scare, and everyone's just had that idea on their brain for years now, and they refuse to let it go.
Yeah, that and there's a black man in the White House. The apocalypse is coming. Oh dear Lord, Obama's the Antichrist. Oh.
Every president has been the Antichrist since Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Possibly even before.
Yeah.
Because everyone keeps I was thinking about this today. So everyone always talks about how Congress never does anything, but that's been talked about for decades. and everyone talks about how the president's awful at his job, so I'm just like, hey, why don't we just not have a president and not have a Congress anymore?
Well, when people say that...
They never do anything.
When people say that, they fail to realize that when we founded the government, it was founded on the Madisonian model, which is designed to be slow on purpose.
Yeah.
So anyone that sits there and complains about it just usually doesn't understand how things work.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, why do we have so many rules? And then a guy comes in and is like, I want you all to be married to ducks. Everyone must have an extra duck wife, and you must have sex with it, film it, and send me the file. Like, we can't just have a guy who, like, forces you to have sex with ducks. Like, would you really want a guy like me?
What the fuck are you even talking about?
If you have, like, president, like, those rules are there to make sure that, that current president can't change shit too much. So it's like, if there's a Republican...
Okay, thank God, 'cause, like, I'm like, where the fuck did duck sex come from?
It's like, if you have a Republican... If you have a Republican president, for example, if you have a Republican president who only has one term, and he says, I am gonna write in a law that all gay folk must be put to death. And like, well, if the process isn't slow, and you're like, well, you have to fucking do things. You can't just say, hey, like, oh, president's like, now officially king, and he can make literally anything he wants happen. I mean, you can't, like, we had that fucking Hitler. He's like, I want faggots and Jews and, the gypsies to be wiped out. Okay, let's be effective. And they did it like...
Hey, it's the craziest thing, and I honestly never really like saying this, but the Holocaust is the one thing that led to the war being won. Which is the part no one ever recognizes. So yeah, there's that. Well, Hitler diverted a lot of the trains all across Germany and Eastern Europe, and even France when he took it over, to the concentration camps. So a lot of the military equipment that was being delivered to the front lines was being actually delivered by donkey. So if he'd actually let the trains go where they were supposed to, then the German front lines would have been restocked at such a fast rate that the Blitzkrieg could have continued unhampered, and he probably would have been able to take over Russia, then divert everything back to Europe, or back to Britain and France before D-Day. So, yeah, because of Hitler's stupidity and insanity, I guess, and, his madness in creating the Holocaust, making the Holocaust realized, it's actually the one thing that was led to the war being won.
And that's kind of fucked up.
It is. That and the civilian bombings in Britain. If it weren't for those two things, Germany would have won the war. At least in the European theater. I don't think Hitler could have ever really mounted a very good, attack on America. And the, Western world, but the rest of the West, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's one of those crazy things that, like, alternate history is fascinating.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
Question of, like, what if Hitler went to art school?
Yeah.
You know what's fucking fascinating about Hitler? Like, say what you will, he's a monster, a killer, and a genocidal lunatic. But, like, funny enough, like, he fucking, like, to his, like, most of these guys, like Attila the Hun and whatever, these fucking world-conquering motherfuckers, to their own fucking people, they were just, like, insanely popular because, like,
well, how else would they become a leader?
I know. I mean, but, like, think about it. Germany at that point, fucking, after the First World War, it was essentially in the shitter. Here comes this little fucking art student saying, "Hey, I can turn the economy around like that. Give me power," and he fucking does it.
Blame the Jews.
He does, but I know, but he fucking turns Germany into, like, they have to bring a little boatload of fucking cash to buy some bread. To, like, hey, we're fucking having rallies, billions of fucking people, not even during the Roman legions have we had this type of shit. And he brings up Germany, and he says like, oh, and let's kill the Jews and take over the world.
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, remember, it's not as easy as you make it sound, because Hitler had a pretty long rise to power, and along the way, he would close the chains in the government that allowed him to get there in the first place. So he was essentially unopposed by his own making.
Yeah.
The Nazis
Definitely.
never controlled more than a third of the Senate, the German Senate or German Parliament, whatever it is.
Yeah, like, he wasn't a great uniter of the people. He's not like a Bismarck or anything. He was just an opportunist.
Oh, definitely. But
all right, let's get back to just social commentary in general, though. All right, so we've talked about like some examples of it. Steve, let me ask. We'll go round robin for this, actually. What's a good movie, book, comic, whatever, that you feel uses social commentary really well?
Howard the Duck.
Are you talking like recently or just whenever?
Anything in general, but try to make it something other people would have heard of.
Howard the Duck.
Well, not Howard the Duck, but I actually just started reading the series, but John Constantine Hellblazer.
Oh yeah.
That character and that universe fascinates me, because essentially the thing with John Constantine is every writer that has a run on that book will always use it for just the explicit purpose of social commentary. Like every run of that book I've collected and read so far, there isn't an author who just writes a story for the sake of John Constantine. It's always a very deliberate social commentary about something. Mm-hmm. And to the credit of Vertigo, that character has stayed pretty consistent. And he's got this very firm in his beliefs, and it doesn't change very often.
Didn't he used to? Sorry for interrupting. Didn't he used to like age in real time before his title got cancelled and he got restarted and put in the New 52?
Yeah, he ages in real time for the 300 issues that he was around, which was really cool.
Dude, John Constantine had a crossover with Jonah Hex and Swamp Thing. It was amazing.
Yeah, he has a lot of crossovers with Swamp Thing, and those are always fun.
No, but
he
like,
first appeared in Swamp Thing.
It was Jonah Hex meets John Constantine, and then Jonah Hex is like, I need to get back to the past. And Constantine's like, okay. And he just summoned Swamp Thing, and it was awesome. And then the fucking, what's it called? The Black Mercy gets on Swamp Thing and Jonah Hex. It was so cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Jonah Hex's, like, perfect world is fucking horrifying. It's like a goddamn Tarantino movie on steroids.
It is. Oh, that's why, fuck. That's why they, fucked up the Jonah Hex movie. It's like Dragon Balls and John Malkovich and shit. But, here's the thing about Jonah Hex movie. Josh Brolin would have been amazing.
Oh, he would.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. He's a great Jonah Hex, but with
it wasn't his
superpowers
fault
for
that
some
movie
reason.
sucked.
Well, no, here's what I'm, the point I've made about Jonah Hex is I'm not even going to bother pirating that movie. Because I've never seen it, but I know it's awful. You know why I know it's awful? Because it has Megan Fox in it.
You know those actors that are just their very presence in the film just marks it out as awful. It looks cool, kind of. Not goofy fun, but that person is.
Yeah. All right, Milan, how about you? What's an example of something with a really good social commentary that you enjoy?
There's this book
not
series
Howard
by Joe. No, it's not Howard the Duck. But funny you should say that. Back in the back when Howard the Duck was, the comic book, it's really fun satire. But anyway, there's this book series by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan called The Strain. It's essentially it's a vampire series. It's basically you have the whimsical, dark fantasy elements of Guillermo del Toro, but the straight up no nonsense realism of Chuck Hogan mixing up in this really fascinating, it's essentially it's a spread of disease type of movie. It's really interesting because it has this social commentary that I don't know. It's essentially the fear of disease and the complete and utter decay of society when something like that big is introduced. It's nothing new. It's essentially a zombie movie, but they're making a TV show of it now, and Guillermo del Toro is attached, and I'm like, yay. But essentially, it has a few.
Essentially.
Yeah, I keep saying that.
It doesn't seem like all of these things are essential.
Not at all. Not at all. Like 75% of the stuff that I say is not essential, to be truthful.
Mm-hmm. All right. For me, I got a couple things that are springing to mind. Clockwork Orange jumped in there, and I mean that one's obvious. But I think I'm gonna go with something that's like I guess you wouldn't expect from me, but it's something I actually really, really enjoy. Because it's more of just about bullies, but, you know, a lot of people shy away from it simply because of the title. Mean Girls.
Oh, yeah. I love Mean Girls.
I really like that movie because, you know, it's just about bullying. It focuses on female bullying, which I think is worse than anything guys think of to do to each other. But
definitely.
It mainly focuses on female bullying, and it's getting a little dated because it doesn't have any cyberbullying as a part of it. But it's a really solid movie, and it's just all like talking about the way girls treat each other, not just in high school, but in life in general.
Dude. I don't know, like you're a straight guy and you don't understand, but like Mean Girls is like. It's like if you're not considered gay if you haven't watched Mean Girls. It's like that's like your final badge of honor. Like you like cock? Okay. Did you watch Mean Girls? Yes. Welcome to the club, baby. You know.
No, but like it's just this really interesting movie, and I think you know, like the way I usually the justification I usually use to make people understand that it is actually good. And people go, "Oh, Lindsay Lohan," though, and I go, "It's written by Tina Fey." And that really, like, stops people in their tracks and go, oh, okay then. And it really changes a lot of people's minds. But more than that, it's really entertaining on its own. And it has a lot of great scenes that are kind of more on-the-nose social commentary. Like, when she goes to the fountain at the mall and is reminded of the watering hole in Africa. And all the teenagers just start beating the shit out of each other.
You go, Glenn Coco. You go, Glenn Coco.
But yeah, it was really really fascinating movie, and I really enjoy it. Even though it's a little silly, but it's still pretty fun. And I mean, it has that cheesy kind of like high school movie ending at a certain point, but I don't care. It's still a really good movie overall.
Did you guys ever read the book that it's based on?
No, I did not know it was based on a book.
What?
It was based on the self-help book, and I can't remember what the name of the book is, but the woman who wrote it was a teacher, if I remember right. So a large portion of the movie actually came from some of her experiences just teaching students and how kids would behave. So that's probably why it feels as real as it does.
It really is just so much fun. And I mean, it has probably one too many stupid jokes, but you can't be mad at the line, I have ESPN. It's just a really funny line, even though it's dumb as shit.
Well, it's coming from a dumb as shit character.
I refuse to believe anyone is that stupid. I genuinely resist dumb as shit characters unless you give them that, like, Silent Bob-esque moment where they say some really intelligent shit that just comes out of nowhere.
Dude,
like, I genuinely
you've known me for so long, and you have, like, you're saying, like, oh, yeah, there's no dumb people. Like, you keep calling me dumb all the time. You keep saying that I'm, like, the proof of this rule. Are you going back on that?
What do you mean you're the proof of this rule?
You keep saying, like you have never met anyone that dumb before in real life.
I've never said that to you.
Oh. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
That I haven't said you're not the dumbest person I've known. Anyway.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Oh my god. Did you hear that, Taxi? Oh my god. Oh my god, thank you. Oh my god.
No, Milan, so you'd have to meet my boss if you wanted to meet the dumbest person I've ever known.
Oh, I'm so here. My ears are open. Let's talk about your boss and how much he's a dick.
Alright, let's see if I can think of a funny story. Okay, this is kind of simple, but it's still pretty good. So I'm, like, working. It's like, I got 5-6 minutes left. I'm working really quick to get this thing done for a customer. And he comes back, he's like, Ian, I know you're leaving soon, but do you think you have time to do this thing that probably takes, minimum half an hour to do? Like, do you think you have time for this thing? I go, no, Terry, I really can't. And he's like, well, how much longer are you here? About 5 minutes. He's like, oh, okay. Now, what makes that story funny is he's the one that wrote my schedule. So, just one of those things. So my boss is kind of, it's funny. He wasn't at work today. He had the day off, and everything just went so smoothly. But, of course, he called in at a certain point just to check to make sure everything was going okay. Because he's convinced we're going to burn the building down without him. So, yeah.
So, are we recording still?
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Cool.
Anyway, social commentary. All right, let's go ahead and connect this back. So, I'm trying to think of some good movies that, alright, this isn't a movie, but, the comic strip, Dilbert. Great social commentary about the working environment.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a white-collar job. It's super quirky.
I take it Milan doesn't like Dilbert.
Apparently not.
I like the TV show well enough. It was like, ha, there's a dog, and it talks.
No, I just guess you don't like the comic strip, though.
No, I never read the comic book strip. I'm just making fun of, hey, white-collar people. Like, you and your college education make me sick.
Well, Dilbert's more of a joke on the management staff than it is on the workers, but occasionally they'll make fun of the workers. One of my favorite Dilbert comic book strips of all time was Wally and Dilbert, I think it's Wally and Dilbert, talking at the water cooler. And he goes, lately I've been having dreams about work, and it's really freaking me out. He goes, why? Well, when I'm at work, I'm sleeping, so I'm dreaming about sleeping.
That reminds me a little bit. You guys watch Monty Python, I'm sure, right?
Oh, I've seen some.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, okay. Well, there's this really great sketch. I'm not sure which film it's in. Where it's back in during the Civil War days, where the officers wouldn't do the fighting. It was just regular enlisted soldiers, and it's just a bunch of soldiers massacring each other while two really, really fat generals are just walking around and stepping over bodies and using them as tables, and it's hilarious.
Are you talking about the one with the
Zulu
guy
War.
getting his leg bitten off by a goddamn tiger, and he's just so fucking chill about it?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's from Meaning of Life.
Yeah, that's from the Zulu Wars. It's like, oh dear, Johnson, it seems that you're missing a leg. Oh, am I? It will grow back, will it? Yes, it should. Actually, no, it won't.
Just if you're playing soccer or something, try to favor the other leg.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Monty Python's it's such a British thing. And another great Monty Python sketch, though, from Flying Circus was the Ministry of Silly Walks.
Oh, yes.
It's the dumbest fucking thing in the world, but it's such this great little commentary on how bureaucratic and how useless the government's become. Oh my god.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should take over the government and just make me king.
No,
Oh,
we shouldn't.
we totally should. It'd be totally fun. I'll make people have sex with ducks.
This gets to an interesting point, though.
Yeah, duck sex
Which
is
do you
awesome.
think
I
is-
can admit.
All right, let's. I'm gonna divide this into two questions, and we'll go around here. I'll answer first, though. Which do you think is more effective at changing the society, but which do you prefer more? Social commentary that's more on a comedic side, or social commentary that's very serious? I'm gonna say comedic, because I think there's nothing that changes something faster than making people laugh. Let's go to Milan.
What?
Fuck you! Let's go to Steve.
Let's see. I think you definitely have a valid point, but we also live in this really annoying self-serious society. So I'm going to say that something very deeply serious is better for changing, because, I mean, we had really interesting comedic takes on social commentary in comic books, but nothing changed until someone wrote the most over-the-top serious books ever in Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns. And I kind of prefer the comedic side of it. Simply because it just goes down smoother. It makes it more of an idea, not just, hey, let's change this right now because I say so.
Yeah, it's kind of like the sugary... it's like the sugar on the pill.
Yeah, but I don't think people are going to necessarily change something unless they know that they are mentally being forced to change it because it's bad.
Yeah, see, I think the counterexample to what you were talking about is a lot of music. U2 and John Lennon come to mind particularly.
You got me there.
Because they're this completely serious thing, and certainly they've done a lot of good, but it hasn't had as wide-sweeping an effect as they want. Whereas things that make fun of the situation at hand, I think, trying to think of an example off the top of my head, it's not common right now, but I think when you make someone laugh at something, it makes them, do double takes when they're doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be made fun of.
And to aid your point, something like The Great Dictator, which is still comedic, but it's still a very big rally cry to war against Hitler.
Oh, definitely. And funny enough, Hitler loved The Great Dictator, apparently. He loved the film. But,
yeah, he had copies of it. Oh, actually, did you know The Great Dictator is, this major plot point in Iron Sky? The Nazis that are living on the moon think it's, this short film that's a tribute to Hitler, because they have a cut of it that's only 10 minutes long.
That's hilarious.
But then one of them, the teacher, goes down to Earth, and she sees The Great Dictator in full, and she's, just flabbergasted. It's, the big point in her character arc. It's, the opportunity for change moment for her.
Oh, my God. But, it's the thing with those type of films is, when you make people laugh at themselves, I've been listening to a lot of Lewis Black recently, and he,
I love him.
Yeah, he's been, he pointed this out, that's, say what you will about America, but Americans can fucking laugh at themselves. And when you have societies at the time, it's early 2000s, he talked about, the Muslim extremists, and, those guys cannot laugh at themselves. It's in their whole, apparently, they have no sense of humor. And that's why they're so fucked up. If you can't look at yourself, at your society, and find, if you can't point out what's wrong with it in a humorous way and laugh about it, then you're kind of, 2 steps away from just everyone fucking strapping bombs to each other.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, he's totally right there.
Yeah. Lewis Black is absolutely fantastic.
He just yells random words, and it's magnificent.
It really is, he's a comedian who's almost Louis C.K. and Carlin, their jokes are funny no matter how you deliver it. You listen to, someone like Lewis Black or Mitch Hedberg, it's all about the delivery.
Oh, yeah.
All about the delivery, which is fantastic. But anyway, alright, so Milan, you never really answered the question. Which do you prefer, and which do you think is more effective at actually changing the society? Social commentary that's more serious in nature, or social commentary that's comedic?
Well, that really all depends on the situation and the time that this is. I guess it's for every situation. I guess you need both.
Just fucking answer the question.
Shut up.
Why do we always have to do this? You always have to give the fucking middle of the road answer. Just fucking answer.
I'm trying to fucking answer. I'm trying to be new. It's called being nuanced, Ian. It's a thing.
Fuck your nuance. I want results.
You're a philosopher. How can you want results? How can you expect results on anything?
Because you're not one. So fuck you. Do it.
Okay, fine. I guess it all depends on the situation. For example, if you have a war or some sort of horrible genocide going on, obviously you have to handle it with some fucking taste. For example, there was a movie that came out called Blood Diamonds, and it had to do with slavery, and fucking, those cunts in Africa taking children and, making them fucking kill each other, and yeah.
Dude.
You have that. With that, it wasn't satire, but it's Blood Diamonds is essentially, it's a movie that took this issue very seriously. But you can't very well have a very funny, like, hey, child boy soldiers, you can't have that, because that's as a topic in general, it's far too serious to make fun of. But on something, when you have something like that, you can poke fun at. Like at first, you had the Great Dictator. That was, that's war in Europe, but it's far enough away where you can make fun of it. It's Hitler, whatever. But like, it's at the end, you still have that poignant point. Like, yeah, we have to fucking get involved. This is all fun and games, but this motherfucker's gonna rule the world if we don't do shit. But and humor's kind of a, like I said before, it's kind of the sugar around the pill. It helps the message go down more. But, on the other hand, you got the more serious half, depending, like, you can only go serious on a very serious topic. You can't make people laugh at slavery.
Well, I mean, to your slavery point, there comes a time where you have enough distance from where that's possible. Like, Django Unchained is basically just a whole comedy about slavery.
It's not really a comedy. It's a revenge.
Well, it's essentially a comedy because it operates on the idea that black or white, you can all laugh.
Are you talking about comedy in more the classical sense of the word, as in not a tragedy?
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, right, I don't mean comedy in the modern sense. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, I got you. I'd agree with you there, but I think you got to be careful about how you word things. All right, so this brings me to an interesting question that came into my head as we were going through this last thing, and I'm not exactly sure how to phrase it, so I'll just put my thought out there, I guess. So why does social commentary change things when journalism doesn't?
Well, I guess journalism with nowadays, everyone has their own facts. I mean, you can show people the facts, but they have their own special, unique brand of facts that kind of undermine your facts, apparently. And with the age of the internet, it brought people together, but it also introduced, well, it gave essentially a lot of bullshit artists the platform to say whatever the fuck they want to say without the fear of censorship.
Okay, Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah, you're definitely right. Journalism is something that's changed a lot over the years, because, to be fair, back when you had movements by Roosevelt to change society, the biggest weapon we had there was journalism, and especially investigative journalism. We had the watchdog reporters and stuff like that, keeping their ears to the ground and actually changing things for the better. But when you talk about journalism nowadays, it's a very different thing, because now it's just journalism is reporting the news with the highest number of audience members possible. And we've gotten to this point where journalists will flat out lie to you and no one bats an eye. Like when you're looking at the homelessness population on whatever news source you watch, CNN, Fox, whatever, even PBS or C-SPAN or whatever, it's going to be an inflated number that doesn't make any kind of sense. And journalism can certainly change things. It's just we've come to a place in society where we don't have the same, or at least we don't seem to show the same code of ethics, or we don't seem to understand what made journalism work in the first place.
Yeah, because journalism integrity nowadays is a dirty word. And like, hey,
it doesn't. There's not enough people around who actually read newspapers, and not enough people around that don't understand the fact that reading newspapers are actually more effective than reading things on articles online. Like Huffington Post is just a bleeding heart. Fox News is just completely Republican to a scary degree. CNN is a completely fake neutrality. So like print journalism is something that we still need. It's just we're losing the audience, and there's too much pride in that art form for people to just upgrade to a completely objective online source.
Yeah, but why do you think social commentary, criticism in popular media has such a wider effect on people than actual facts.
I mean, that's just simply because entertainment's how we always deal with things. And that's not going to change anytime soon. If you want to, you bring in some Russian history along, and you get, Tsar Alexander II, and how much of his reforms and stuff actually come from things like Dostoevsky's books. Mm-hmm. So entertainment is always going to be there, and entertainment's always going to be the way we look through society and how we change things, because we're going to look back on the zeitgeist of the times through those books, and that's how we upgrade our society, and that's how we shape our worldview. Journalism's good for uncovering things in the here and now, but as far as crafting and improving and being critical of society, things like that don't seem to come around anywhere except popular entertainment, because that's complete freedom. That's a different level of criticism, and if for some reason there's a different emotional attachment to it that allows us to take it more seriously.
Definitely. And I guess with bravo indeed. And I guess with more popular means of distributing the news, quote unquote, you have, it's a little bit more populist. It's a little bit more fun, because just sitting down and listening to hard facts, people find this a little boring. And so hey, I'm going to put a spin on this, or I'm going to make news entertaining, because we need that for some reason, because knowing what the fuck is going on is not important. I need a fucking, sugary happy face drawn on my news, I don't need that shit. I just
Hey, fuck you, I'm working in news now.
yeah.
You're trying to take my job.
So everything is your fault now, Ian.
It's also that when people are doing their jobs, it's not news. So we get this mentality of, unless something's going wrong, then we're not doing our jobs, and so we blow things out of proportion that don't need to.
Yeah, you always try to show the most dramatic thing and stuff. Yeah. All right. No, but that was a fantastic point about fiction, Steve, and it pretty much summarized my thoughts.
Yeah.
I only have one more thought I want to get out. Then I'll let Steve kind of address some concerns I don't think we've touched on yet of his. So what genre of fiction do you think is most apt or most effective at communicating social commentary?
Are you talking specific genre or medium?
You can use either, but I'm gonna go with genre as the main catch-all, because vocabulary always fucks with me. Genre can be in any medium, correct? Yeah. You can have horror in any medium. Right. Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's go with genre, but you can use medium too if you'd like.
It sounds like the obvious answer, but I think it's probably the best. I'm gonna just go with political thrillers in film. 'Cause it's really obvious. You're gonna go in for a political thriller, and you're gonna expect people to be giving philosophies to you or political ideas to you. That's just the nature of the genre. But I think that's also why it works, because people know what they're in for, and when they know what they're in for, they're better able to digest the ideas that's going to be presented to them. And political thrillers don't function, and political thrillers aren't remembered unless they're so critical of society to the point where we have to believe the truth in them. Cold War political thrillers are a really big thing, and all of the ones we remember are the really good ones that talk about the problems with mutually assured destruction and the problems of making communism out to be the Antichrist. Things like, what's it called? 3 Days of the Condor.
Dr. Strangelove?
Huh?
Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, Dr. Strangelove, 3 Days of the Condor about, American bureaucracy. Even now in drone strikes and stuff with Captain America the Winter Soldier or 24 Live Another Day. I think political thrillers work because they do actually, along with entertaining you, they do scare you. And it's cynical to say that fear... It's cynical to say that fear is what motivates people, but it's true. That's just human nature. And if a film can scare you about an issue enough, and it's good enough, it's going to force you to change things, no matter what medium you're watching it in.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I'm going to say sci-fi.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I think, one of the, tent poles of sci-fi, I think there are, 3 things that have made sci-fi as popular as it is, and it's very much a 20th century invention. You have fascinating visuals in sci-fi. That's one of its tentpoles. And then you have really fun, like, kind of crazy things going on. That's another tentpole for sci-fi. But the other big one is social commentary. Like, it's almost intrinsically in it. It's really hard to think of many sci-fi things that don't have at least some level of social commentary, or at least are playing with some social structure that has existed for a while in its plot somehow or another. So I think sci-fi is a really good medium for social commentary, because it's almost like intrinsic of sci-fi.
And you can every conceivable genre possible can fit into a sci-fi structure.
Yeah, but just sci-fi as a general genre. General genre. I think I know where that word comes from now.
Yeah, that's. You guys is real smart. Me, you guys kind of mentioned the stuff that I kind of genuinely agree with, sci-fi and political thrillers, but those are good answers. But like political thrillers, you can have the kind of opposite effect, because you mentioned 24 in the whole torture brown people show.
Well, I said 24 Live Another Day, and it doesn't go anywhere with that reputation of what 24 was.
Well, the thing is with 24, like, you can go both ways, both the negative and the positive. I guess 24 was kind of meant to be seen like, look, this is what we are. We're torturing people. And instead it turned out to be fucking, Republican masturbation fodder. And
well, yeah, I mean, that's what 24 was. I'm just saying, like, 24 Live Another Day, which is, it's almost completely stepped away from that. Mm. And I think it's actually, at least as far as ratings that I can see, it's more popular than 24 was when it was coming out.
It's fucking early 2000s fear, fucking nostalgia. I'm afraid of being...
I think you've just been proven wrong, and you need to accept that and move on with your point.
Okay, I suppose so. But I just want to say this one thing. Something that just kind of endeared Bill O'Reilly to me. Like I don't like Bill O'Reilly. I think he's a bit of an idiot. But like, he said something so ridiculously stupid. Yeah. He said something so ridiculously fucking retarded that I'm like, you're like a kitten, aren't you? And I'm like, basically what happened was there was some Fox, debate about, terrorism at the time. And it was like what? And Bill's like, yeah, well, it's about torture, essentially. And it was like, Bill O'Reilly's talking like, yeah, what if there's like a bomb and we gotta get the information out real quick? And he essentially, what he did is he just described a fucking 24 episode, like beat for beat. I'm like, dude, that you just described.
Did you just watch 24 before?
He literally, he thinks that's actual reality. He thinks that's just how fighting terrorism works. He thinks the action movie is just how you catch terrorists. Like, they're running around, the brown people, and we need to just hurt them and make them tell us shit.
That doesn't surprise me about that guy.
Not at all. Like, he's adorable. Like, at first I hated him, but then I just like, he's just like, he has the same shit that like fucking, when somebody just becomes so dumb in your eyes, you realize that somebody is so like indescribably stupid that you can't hate them anymore. It's just like, Grandpa, the Jews aren't that bad, It's hysterical. It's like, it's crazy Grandpa talking shit.
Do you have another genre that you think communicates it really well? Doesn't have to be your favorite. But...
Well, the thing, I like my favorite, which is the superhero genre. Well, the comic books. In comic books, you can tell whatever.
That's a medium.
Well, it's a medium. You can tell whatever you want in comic books, but especially in superhero comics, because I like the art, pop art contrast between these large, essentially modern day, fairy tale characters, dealing with modern day dealing with genuine issues. I kind of like that kind of weird contrast. It in an pop art way, it kind of makes me, it interests me. But not to say I like to read Watchmen every day. Like, Watchmen is like like people suck Watchmen's dick, and it's rightly so, but like it's just so.
Here comes hipster Milan.
No, I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I love Watchmen. It's fucking Watchmen. Nothing I can possibly say can take away from that. I'm just saying it's just like after a while you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking read this every minute of every day. It's just so far up its own ass. It's like, dude, fucking crack a smile. Not like life isn't that fucking dark and grotesque. I mean, fuck. That's me talking. That's fucking me talking. Not every day.
That's the man who lives in denial talking.
Yes. Yes. I mean, fuck, dude.
Yeah, I think comic books and superheroes in particular, if you want to call superheroes a genre, even though they have a bunch of sub-genres, are a really good medium for social commentary because it's that monthly format. I think television or anything that comes out on a regular basis has a better chance of doing social commentary than a lot of movies do, because with movies you run the risk of having your point be irrelevant by the time it comes out, whereas with TV and comics or anything, like I said, that's coming out on a regular basis, you really have the chance to have it be written as it's happening, as it's developing.
I guess that's one of the benefits of South Park.
Yeah, and South Park, like we mentioned before, is something that's really on the game when it comes to getting events out and episodes relating to them really quickly.
Well,
it's called 6 Days to Air for a reason.
Yeah, it's really quick to produce.
Mm-hmm. And they use Maya, which is what I use, so I'm like a South Park maker now. Okay, anyway. Alright, so I said that, like, questioning the genre was going to be my last one, but I guess I developed another question along the way, and then I'll let Steve take it. So, like, when do you think... what about social commentary... I'm trying to think how to word this. When it's done bad, what are the typical things that make you not like something that is that's using social commentary? Like, what about social commentary that's done bad makes it bad? If that question makes any sense.
No, it does. I was actually thinking of a similar question in my head, which is what happens when social commentary intrudes on the story that's being told?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
There you go. Much more articulate way of trying to say my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because there's a point where you stop telling a story and you're just preaching a point.
Yeah, some of the early comics kind of had that problem. Like, there's a really famous panel of just at the end of the story, it's like they would look away on the issue and like, are we doing anything really? Dun dun dun, issues, super issues, issues.
And you mentioned 24, but yeah, 24 is something notorious for that, where it stops being a story and it stops being about a character just to preach a point and an agenda, which is definitely the wrong way to handle it. Yeah,
it's like, hey, it's just kind of what 24 is. It's essentially it's kind of like, I think most Republicans would really fit in the BDSM scene really well because they all just seem like a bunch of sociopaths. Most of them. I mean, like, I can say that because, like...
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
Oh, no one's watching this show. No one's watching this show. No one's gonna fucking say shit. Like, if somebody comments, like, I owe you $20, I will literally, like, fucking PayPal, blah, blah. I'll send you money if... PayPal, that's the one.
PayPal.
Someone take please, in the comments, someone write that they're offended by Milan's point so I can get 20.
I have a second account. I will do that.
That's not fair because, that way it's like it's not genuine because
you said
if you're doing it,
you never said anything about genuine.
Yeah, that's not part of the deal, bitch.
Well, you have to be genuine. You have to be genuine. Come on.
You can't say that after the fact.
I'm trying to make a point. Like, we don't have enough views to be worried about shit. That's why I talk about...
Well,
No, I wasn't worried about it. I'm just like, I'm not fucking talking politics with you because it's like apparent that you have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to American politics.
Not at all. Not at all.
I just don't even bother.
I mean that makes him about on par with most people in America.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly. I know.
I'm like a reasonably high-functioning American. Yay.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
But
Oh, fuck you.
That's
You
not a good thing,
asshole.
Lon.
You fucking dick.
hey, I mean, I was talking to
Oh.
Dan Torrey the other day. We kind of came to the same point. But anyway.
What about me?
No, not about
me?
you, but just about Americans. And I was talking to Alex and about students, and we're kind of coming to the same ground. But anyway, about social commentary intruding on the story being told, because the social commentary is clearly important, and we're talking about changing political agendas, and we're talking about changing people's perspective on things. But that can only happen when you actually have a story to tell, when you have a compelling character and you're really invested in something fictional, that it goes so far as to change you in the nonfiction. And something like Watchmen, something like Dark Knight Returns, something like 3 Days of the Condor, or whatever else we mentioned, that's all examples of when that's done well. But there's also a lot of times where, especially with writers who are just starting out, like college writers or just people who are still practicing the craft, and they feel, well, I am a writer, so I should be able to write whatever I want about anything. And they don't realize that you have to write something that can be analyzed from multiple perspectives. If you're writing something that can only be understood from your very specific philosophy or your very specific political agenda, then you're not writing something well, and you're not writing something that's worth reading.
Indeed.
I agree.
Indeed. See, this motherfucker, I like this motherfucker, Ian. He's like all smart and shit.
Yeah, it really, like, makes up for you.
Definitely. I mean, I'm just an idiot. This guy, like, he knows things about things. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I agree, Steve. Like, I think the biggest problem with social commentary is when it intrudes or when it's so apparent that there's no like, even if you're telling kind of a good story or a story that's at least okay, it just intrudes so much that you're like, okay, I get your point, James Cameron. The blue people are Indians. I know. Let's move on.
The thing with Avatar, I think the plot was just so simplified because, well, they just wanted not to distract from the pretty visuals.
And that's fine. That's perfectly okay to do. It's just like, I actually do like Avatar. I think it's a fun movie to a certain extent, but it doesn't let itself just be fun because of how, like, just intrusive the social commentary is. Like, it's, I get it. Like, I'm with it up until just after they blow up the tree. Like, I'm with it up until Blue Person 9/11. That's, like, right after that, like, they blow up the tree, and it's really sad, and then they're all walking away. I'm like, okay, I'm cool with this. And then they want to blow up another tree. I'm like, guys! Come on!
That's really Frank Miller, because that guy just doesn't let a political point go no matter what. And I'm glad you mentioned trees, because there's the Day the Earth Stood Still remake, which is completely hollow and does nothing except preach an agenda about the environment. And that's not how you should handle social commentary, especially being a remake of The Day the Earth Stood Still, which does it so well.
That's funny though. Like, see, I was at work the other day, and they were testing a stereo that we got, trying to see if the speakers worked. And it just happened to be tuned to, like, conservative talk, and fucking Rush Limbaugh was on. And, like, this should give you an idea about how bad the radio selection is at work, because they have it on a fucking pop station. And we all collectively decided that it would be more entertaining to listen to Rush Limbaugh, each of us for differing reasons. It would be more entertaining to listen to Rush Limbaugh than Katy Perry. So we're listening to Rush Limbaugh for, like, I don't know, an hour, and he spends the entire time ranting about Obamacare, and you gotta think about it, he does this every day, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, is he still fucking talking about Obamacare? How can he keep going? What is there left to say? And I feel like that's Frank Miller at a certain point. I think Frank Miller would really fit in on conservative talk radio.
Yeah, that's certainly Frank Miller. The guy he doesn't know where to stop.
Yeah. Okay, so Steve, I've been promising to give you the reins for a while. Is there anything that we haven't beat to the ground, as we were just talking about beating something to the ground? Oh, real quick joke. So guys, I just wanted to let you know that I used to be a nymphomaniac and a sadist, and I had a little bit of a penchant for bestiality, but after a while I just realized I was beating a dead horse. Okay, now then, Steve, is there anything that we haven't beat to death that you wanted to bring up? Besides dead horse.
Okay. Like, I got something. It's really quick because we've sort of addressed this, but let's just talk about this really quickly about moral exemplars in fiction and how that's effectively still social commentary.
Can you give an example, please?
Okay, so let's say Joss Whedon, because I have a Joss Whedon textbook right next to me. Buffy and Willow and Tara and those characters in that show. Extremely relatable characters and extremely important characters for when it comes to feminist ideas. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason that we've had like this movement of really popular female characters, like we got Veronica Mars and we got Supergirl. We already had her, but like an increase in popularity with stuff like Supergirl and Captain Marvel and stuff like that. A lot of that's just attributed to Joss Whedon and his ability to write female characters. And to just to write a type of person very well, or to give a character a very specific characteristic, can still be a bit of a social commentary.
Yeah, I definitely think so, and I think that's one of the problems that Wonder Woman's had, is even when Gail Simone was writing her, which is some of her best stuff, no one really knows how to write Wonder Woman, or like the people that do are really far and few between.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like this character that stagnates for a while, even though she's very fascinating. So you'll get someone like George Perez who will come into the book and he'll do a really great run that's really entertaining on its own, but really makes her a good moral character the way, you know, Grant Morrison does with Superman or something. And so you get this like character that influences the way in which you write other characters and influences the time period. So that's a really interesting thought. So I guess what specifically about it did you want to address?
Just that basic overview, because we could talk about like important characters all day, but I want to make sure that we address the fact that social commentary just doesn't have to be on an issue that's a theme in the film. It could also just be the existence of a character that makes you think about things.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love when we get characters that are that kind of become the flag for how to write a character well. It's weird that all these examples of female characters are jumping to mind, but, you know, first thing that occurs to me besides Wonder Woman, the bride from Kill Bill, since I just rewatched them.
Oh, definitely.
It's like, she doesn't have, like, these great moral qualities or anything, but she's just a fascinating character on her own, and she proves that you can do all these great things with a woman that have been done with male characters for years and years.
Yeah, definitely. And just because I'm doing the series, Ghost Rider, not when he first started out, but when the series was relaunched in the 90s, the very first issue of the run had a quote by John Ford that said, "Revenge proves its own executioner." And it immediately followed a quote by Ghost Rider saying that he is the spirit of vengeance. And the first less than half of that run before it was interrupted was all about Ghost Rider seeking vengeance and how this idea of vengeance is ultimately destroying you internally at the same time as it talks about violence in major cities. So that's really interesting because you're using a character that empowers a person who feels weak in a very dangerous situation, but you're also saying that this character is not a role model.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. If either of you guys ever want to, you should definitely pick up the Ghost Rider Danny Ketch Classic trades. There's only 2, and they're really worth reading.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll watch. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna watch your Ghost Rider video thingy, plug, that you're doing in July. And it's gonna be called
Ghost Rider Retrospectives.
Ghost Rider Retrospectives, done by Steve Baxi on Steve Baxi's channel, in which he reviews Ghost Rider things. Plug. You're welcome.
I didn't bring up Ghost Rider just to plug the series, though. Just let me add that.
No, it's okay. I'm just kidding. No, but like, I'm probably going to read at least something, because I did the same thing with Spawn. I went and found Morrison's Spawn issues when Cap was talking about those. Like, just because, like, I almost bought the first trade of Spawn just because, like, the very first story arc was not complete shit, and there was no, cybernetic gorilla that's 19 issues apart from appearances. Oddly enough, a couple weeks after he made that video, like, ranting about how pissed off he was about Cygor not showing up forever, we got a Cygor action figure in at my work, and no one knew what it was. They ended up listing it as a cybernetic King Kong.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, it's one of those little synchronicity things. Anyway. No, but I do think it's interesting to look at the way a character kind of personifies an idea and kind of just becomes the standard, the go-to for how you write this character. And I think it's interesting, at a certain point they become so popular that when someone finds another way to write a character with similar ideals that is nothing like the other character, it's like this big deal. I'm trying to think of an example of that, though.
Wonder Woman, because you brought her up, but when Dennis O'Neil took over the book for a while and he got rid of her costume and powers and just made her like a 70s karate ninja.
See, I really want to read those issues because I know he was trying.
He was, but he was constantly flagged saying that he took the most powerful woman in comics and made her less so. And he understands that fully.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, how well she was actually written as, like, this feminist ideal, since that was very much what he was trying to do, even though he got slammed for, like, apparently being, accidentally sexist. I don't know what the term would be for it. Is there a word for accidentally being an ist?
I'm not even sure.
Oh, accidental racism.
I know Manos likes that run, so it must be pretty good. I've never read.
Hello? I tried to add Milan.
I just know that it's kind of infamous.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. Hey, Milan.
Sorry, guys. My dad went a little crazy just now. He threw a plate at my head.
Jesus fuck.
Yep.
Okay, anyway, we're talking about Denny O'Neil's, like, controversial Wonder Woman run.
Denny, I was gonna go for Hellboy, but alright.
No, you want to throw in on Hellboy, that's fine. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. Like, the Wonder Woman stuff actually sounds a little bit interesting. It's cool. We can do Hellboy next time.
No, I mean, no, we're talking about, like, Denny O'Neil's Wonder Woman run.
Like right now, or are we doing?
Yeah, in the context of the show, we're still doing the show here.
Okay then. Sorry. Yeah, everyone, I'm a little bit mad. Guy threw plate at my head, shattered. Just had to sweep it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, but like. So, you remember, the whole controversy. Denny O'Neil wrote Wonder Woman, but he took away her powers. And all that. You've heard about that.
Yeah, he was trying to give her more of a feminist kind of bent to her, like, oh, she doesn't need her superpowers. And the feminist's like, oh, so she's too good for, she can't have her superpowers? Oh, he was like, oh, shit. Yeah.
It's like, oh, didn't even think about that. It is one of those great ironies, though. It's like, in trying to make her more... in trying to make her a more powerful, more independent, strong, independent woman character, he inadvertently like took away her superpowers and literally weakened her, which is it's just one of those fascinating things.
Yeah, definitely.
There's the scene, and like the new Wonder Woman book is very controversial. I cannot say that word tonight. Steve, what's the synonym
For controversial?
God damn it! I can't talk tonight. So what do? A podcast. The thing that requires talking. I know, but like the new book is really polarizing. But there's this really interesting scene because Wonder Woman's the new god of war right now, and I'm pretty sure she's been the goddess of truth and something else in the past as well. So you know, she's really taking over the pantheon. She's the new god of war, and she's fighting Artemis, and Artemis is telling her, take off the bracelets, embrace your godhood. So, like, apparently the bracelets are actually restraining Wonder Woman from having just insane amounts of power.
That's interesting.
Yes, I'm really curious to see how Azzarello ends up his run with that, by actually making Wonder Woman more powerful. So that'll be fascinating.
See, yeah, that's really funny. Because like you mentioned, like Dennis O'Neil depowers her to make her a better female character. Azzarello gives her more power, and we're not ultimately sure if that's a good thing.
Well, you got to realize. Have you been reading the Wonder Woman book?
I have not. Alex hates it, so I'm not sure if he hates it, but he knows it's not Wonder Woman, so I haven't been picking it up.
It's definitely split down the middle. I don't think Wonder Woman's the problem with it. It's just they changed a lot of the world around it, which I can't really complain about because, you know, it's a character that wasn't selling, so you got to try something, in my opinion.
And it's still New 52, so like everyone's kind of got that problem right now.
Yeah, but like, so in the beginning, when like a lot of the political wheels were in motion for the Greek gods coming around, like introducing each one and stuff, you had War walking around, and he's like this old man without eyes, which was creepy. And everywhere he went, people would just fucking die, and like he wouldn't even be doing anything. Like he's just sitting at a cafe out like on the street, and suddenly there's fucking car bombing. So it's gonna be now that she's the god of war. Like, that's gonna... I guess the impression we're getting is that's gonna start fucking happening to her.
Yeah.
Which I find fascinating.
That is fascinating.
You know, a superhero who has chaos literally following them everywhere they go.
How was it explained that she became the god of war? Because I'm not positive, if you're writing Wonder Woman correctly, that you'd have her choose to do that.
No, there was this whole thing where she actually teamed up with Ares and a bunch of the other gods to try to defeat the like main villain of the book right now, and in the process, she either she has to kill Ares in the process in order to, you know, defeat the guy, and as his like dying act, he makes her the god of war. Like, she doesn't have a choice in the matter. Okay. Because she killed the god of war, she had to gain his power.
And she's not allowed to relinquish it or anything?
No.
Okay, well, yeah, that definitely sounds interesting. I may actually pick up this run when it's all said and done.
It's polarizing as hell, but it's got some really interesting moments. Just, you know, I think the reason it's pissed off a lot of people is because, you know, like... spoiler-ish thing, but it's kind of a minor plot point at best. In one scene, the Amazons go out to ships and board them and have sex with all the sailors and then kill them, and that's how they've sustained their population for generations. And any boys that they have, they give to Hephaestus, and he makes them into his servants. Otherwise, they just kill him. So, like, that's pissed a lot of people off because the Amazons have always been this, like, great, you know, wise thing. But honestly, it's just kind of made them more like the Spartans. like the actual Spartans.
Yeah, this is weird. It's because Wonder Woman's never actually been written like she's a Greek character, and now it seems like they're finally doing that, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing.
It really is. It's just modernizing Greek mythology, so that it's one of those interesting things.
Yeah, because Wonder Woman's traditionally like an idealistic representation of Greek mythology, and now it's like full-on Greek mythology, so...
Yeah, and it's really interesting in that sense. So, like, the way I've been approaching it is just, it's gonna get retconned eventually anyway. So
yeah, hopefully. I don't want that to be the in-canon Wonder Woman.
Uh-huh. That's the problem I think a lot of people have with it, too, is it's that it's canon now. And, you know, she's daughter of Zeus now, too. They got rid of the original origin.
That's a shame.
Well, they did it in an interesting way, though, because it's not like they just go, like, start the thing and, oh, by the way, she's now the daughter of Zeus. The whole clay thing was never canon. No, they go with that's what's been told to her whole life, and that really... she was the daughter of Zeus. Hippolyta had sex with Zeus like so many other women. But Hippolyta had managed to hide that from everyone, including Hera. And Hera and Wonder Woman find out at the same time. So Wonder Woman goes to Paradise Island to, like, confront her mother about it. And, you know, it's been about a year since I read this or so, but... so this is kind of vague. But Hera turned... Hippolyta into a clay statue. And so on Paradise Island there's just this clay statue of Wonder Woman's mother, like, reaching out for her daughter, and, like, she looks so, like, pained and tragic and everything, but she's just this, like, clay statue. And so Wonder Woman keeps going and, like, talking to her like you would to a grave and stuff, so it's really fascinating.
Yeah, that's really strange. I really like Brian Azzarello, so I want to try this, if nothing else.
Now, let me ask, did you like Joker?
I do.
I hate that book.
Anyway, guys, I'm back. Sorry for interrupting, but I gotta go.
Can you give us a topic for next week before you leave?
I liked a contrasting comparison between the two Hellboy movies and the Hellboy comics.
I haven't read any Hellboy comics. You can't be that fucking
I've got a whole bunch of Hellboy, so we can definitely do that.
Yeah, you can be the movie perspective. We can be the comics guys.
Okay, that's fine.
That's cool.
Alright, so that's what we'll be doing next week. See you tomorrow.
Okay, cheers, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna need a shovel.
Okay, bye. No, we're getting farther and farther away from the topic, so I think it's appropriate that we end out anyway. Any final thoughts on social commentary you want to get out, though?
Off the top of my head, no, nothing really. I think we did kind of beat it over the head.
Yeah, so we blew up your fucking tree, and...
yeah.
We tortured some brown people, and I don't know...
We did everything a bad social commentary should be doing.
Yeah, pretty much. We gave a big epic speech that's not really that epic and kind of just gives away the whole point of your movie that everyone picked up on 20 minutes ago. So yeah, there you go. Next week we'll be talking about the Hellboy movies, and they'll be talking about the comic books, so I'll be like, that sounds cool.
And the Hellboy comics are something that's just, they're really fun and nothing else, so that's going to be nice and relaxing.
Yeah, cool. Alright, so that'll be a good old time, and there'll be singing and dancing and stuff. Probably not.
Hopefully none of that now.
You don't want to sing and dance? I'm going to make you film yourself singing and dancing for the show.
No. I don't dance anymore, and I don't sing.
But dude, you can dance if you want to.
But I don't want to.
But you can leave your friends behind.
Can I go dancing in the street?
Yes.
Okay. We'll see how that goes.
Alright, everyone. So thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I guess I'll be political science this time.
That's like such a shit title. I'm the political scientist. Fuck you. That's a made-up degree.
I really need to come up with like a permanent title at some point.
Yeah, you do. That's fine. You can just be the backseat for right now.
Okay, cool.
And Milan was the madman, or the hipster, whichever one you prefer to call him. Until next time.
we will be discussing things.